Hey everyone, and welcome to today's explainer. So, if you're a laser-focused learner gearing up to crack one of the absolute most competitive exams on the planet, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving deep into the CAT 2026 exam. This is it. It's literally the gold standard and your mandatory first step to unlocking those doors to the prestigious Indian Institutes of Management, the IIMs. Look, the stakes here are incredibly high, the competition is totally fierce, and honestly, your prep journey starts right here, right now.
Okay, let's dive into this. Before you go out and buy a single textbook or, sign up for that first mock test, we really need to ask a super critical question. Are you actually even eligible for CAT 2026? I know, it sounds super basic, right? But you'd be totally shocked by how many people spend months grinding away only to realize they don't even have the keys to unlock this gateway in the first place. We've got to make absolutely sure you aren't disqualified before you even hit the books.
And I really want to emphasize the severity of the stakes here. The official rules, they are completely uncompromising. Failing to satisfy any criterion at any stage of the process results in immediate disqualification. Just like that. If you miss even a single rule, or say you accidentally provide some incorrect info, your whole IIM admissions journey comes to an abrupt, complete halt. Their selection process is notoriously rigorous, and that rigor, it starts right now with this initial paperwork.
All right, let's take a breath and relieve a little bit of that initial tension. If you've been stressing out thinking maybe you're too old or that you've already taken the test way too many times before, you can go ahead and breathe a massive sigh of relief. Age limit? None. Attempt limit? 0. The CAT exam absolutely does not care if you're fresh out of college or if you're making a huge mid-career pivot. That door is completely wide open for you to give this exam a shot.
So here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The gateway to IIMs. 2. Your academic keys. 3. Final years and backlogs. 4. The work experience myth. 5. Reservations and PWD support. And finally, 6. Disqualifications and next steps.
All right, let's move to Section 2, your academic keys, the minimum marks rule. So to even be eligible, you got to hold a bachelor's degree from a recognized university or a professional degree like a CA, CS, or ICWA. But listen, just having the piece of paper isn't enough. It's all about the numbers on it. If you're in the general or non-creamy other backward classes categories, that's the NC-OBC, you need a strict minimum of 50% aggregate marks. Now for candidates in the SC, ST, and persons with disability categories, that requirement is slightly lowered down to 45%.
Now, I know what you're thinking. A lot of universities don't just hand you a simple percentage, right? They give you grades or a CGPA. So how on earth do you know if you've hit that 50 or 45% mark? Well, here's the exact math the exam requires. Step 1, you absolutely must use the specific conversion factor provided by your own university. But step 2, if your university doesn't actually have a set methodology for that, you do a direct conversion. You just divide your CGPA by the highest CGPA possible. And step 3, simply multiply that result by 100. Boom! That final number is your official CAT percentage. Honestly, you can just consider this your very first MBA math test.
Moving right along to Section 3, final years and backlogs, navigating special cases. Now, if you're sitting there in your final year of your bachelor's degree, good news, you are absolutely eligible to apply. But since you obviously don't have a final degree certificate in hand just yet, I need you to pay very close attention to this exact quote from the guidelines. You have to submit an additional document. And look closely at the phrasing here. It absolutely must be signed by the principal, head of department, registrar, or director of your institute. Seriously, it cannot be some unofficial printout you grabbed online. This formal signature is what proves you currently hold the required marks, that over 50 or 45% threshold on the exact date the certificate is issued. And hey, if you pass the interview stages later down the line, you'll just hand over your final graduation certificate to lock in your seat.
But, what if your academic record isn't exactly perfectly spotless right now? This is actually one of the most highly searched questions we see every single year. What if you have backlogs in your bachelor's degree? Does a pass stumble completely lock you out of the CAT exam?
Well, I get to be the bearer of good news here. Yes, you can totally still apply and register for the CAT 2026 exam, even if you have a backlog. You could literally be taking supplementary re-examinations right now. When you're filling out the form, you simply answer yes to being in the final year of your degree. You will, of course, need a certificate from your principal or registrar showing you've taken a supplementary re-exam. But, and this is a big but, there is a catch. You must clear all of those backlogs before the actual admission process begins at your chosen management institute. Basically, the CAT exam will let you walk through the front door, but the IIMs, they won't give you a seat at the table until that slate is completely wiped clean. Next up is Section 4, the work experience myth. Fact versus fiction.
Look at that giant 0. Exactly 0 work experience is required to be eligible for the CAT exam. It is entirely a myth, a huge one, that you need to be some seasoned corporate professional to take this test. Actually, around 60% of candidates taking the exam are freshers. Now, to be completely transparent with you, work experience does carry some weightage way later on during the shortlisting and interview stages at the IIMs. But for simply taking the exam and securing your score, having 0 experience will not affect your eligibility or your CAT score in any way, shape, or form.
All right, Section 5, Reservations and PWD Support. Know your category.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact breakdown of the category quotas. We're looking at 27% of seats reserved for non-creamy other backward classes, 15% for scheduled castes, up to 10% for the economically weaker section, 7.5% for scheduled tribes, and then the remaining 45.5% falls under the unreserved or general category. Knowing these numbers is just super helpful for understanding the real landscape of the admissions process you're stepping into.
But listen to me. Here is the absolute most important thing you need to take away from this section. Category changes are not permitted after registration. I literally cannot stress this enough. If you belong to the SC, ST, OBC, or EWS categories, you must submit valid certificates right at the very moment of your application. The standard formats for these, they're already provided on the official CAT website, so do not wait. If you make a typo on your registration form, or if you're thinking, oh, I'll just get my certificate later, nope, the IIMs will absolutely not allow you to change your category down the road. Have your paperwork locked down right now.
Now, for candidates with disabilities, there's a 5% reservation across categories, alongside some really significant accessibility support. To qualify for the Persons with Disability or PWD category, you have to have at least a 40% specified handicap. And this covers a whole range of conditions, from visual or hearing impairments to locomotor disabilities and specific learning disabilities. If you're eligible, you are granted a total of 60 extra minutes of exam time. To put that into perspective, that breaks down to exactly 13 minutes and 20 seconds of additional time per section. Pretty substantial, right? Furthermore, candidates with vision issues are provided a scribe, and wheelchairs are fully provisioned for those with locomotor disabilities.
Which brings us to Section 6, Disqualifications and Next Steps. Who cannot apply?
So who is categorically banned from applying? Let's run through this real quick. First, if your marks fall even a tiny fraction below that strict 50% or 45% threshold we talked about, you cannot proceed. Second, if your degree is from some university that isn't officially recognized by the UGC, the AICTE, or the Ministry of Education, unfortunately, your application is totally invalid. Third, if you're pursuing dual degrees, like a bachelor's and a professional degree, but you haven't actually completed either one yet, you fail to meet the criteria. And finally, if you simply never appeared for a bachelor's degree at all, you're out. You absolutely must have that foundational educational bedrock.
Okay, if you've made it through all of those hurdles and you're in the clear, here is your roadmap. Based on historical trends and what we're expecting right now, the official notification will drop in late July 2026, which means any day now. Registration will likely open up in the first week of August. And go ahead and circle this date in big red ink on your calendar, November 29th, 2026. That is the expected date of the big exam. The clock is officially ticking, folks.
So, I want to leave you with this final, slightly provocative thought. The official notification is dropping any minute now, and the registration gateway swings wide open next month. The rules are clear, the marks are set in stone, and the timeline is totally locked in. Do you have your eligibility documents ready to go today? Or is a silly paperwork error going to cost you an entire year of your life? Get it all sorted right now, today, so that tomorrow you can focus 100% of your energy on acing that exam. Thanks so much for joining me on today's Explainer. Now go get to work.